Hello, and welcome back to Mellohi, a DSMP podcast. This is episode 8, and today we'll be talking about the prison podcast, how Eric might have lost her memories, and our least favourite characters. As always, we'll mostly be referring to the characters by name and specifying when we're talking about the writers, and we're also more interested in analysing the characters, meaning we might get a bit critical of some of them. We have another guest today.
Who is it?
Do you want to introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Chrissy, or Ghost. I'm Cyanide's friend. Nice to meet you guys.
Mm-hmm.
Hello.
What kind of, do you, make any fan content for the DSMP? Because that's, one of the questions we ask.
Yeah, I run a blog, and I will occasionally post character analysis and theories on there. I also make fan fiction, and occasionally memes.
Mm-hmm. Memes always get the most. It's just fandoms love memes, and you get
Yeah,
so many notes from them.
Yeah, I made one shit post back in December, and it is still blowing up. I think we're over 9,000 notes at this point, where he is.
You've got the one where it's where somebody, a post where somebody finds a post that's a DSMP post and doesn't know what it's about. Those are the funniest ones. And you've got one like that that's about blue.
Yeah, that's the one. That's the one.
It's probably your most popular one.
And I go sorry, and everyone apparently everyone thought that was really funny. So. And then you have my other post that I actually put effort into, where I go deep into analysis about Ranbu's biology, and that one's
he's really weird at that.
Much smaller reception there.
Fancy words.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So, how we feeling about BBH's stream?
I have no idea what went on there. I've seen 2 clips and heard people talking about it, fearfully.
Tuned in just after the cow bit, and then it was just, I'm sorry, awful song bit for
apparently
so long, and I had to stop
tried
listening.
To make Cannon Boar again. You know, the first time being the Hello Sally thing.
Quackity turned into a cow. He died. Wilbur described in excruciatingly homoerotic detail what it was like, and almost killed Dog Champ just to get another taste of that quackity.
Oh, God.
Quackity marinated.
Bruh. It was on BBH's stream too.
BBH always gets the weird stuff.
He does.
Yeah.
It's the late night streamers.
Yeah. When it gets late, the SMP just loses it.
Rifles.
Prison podcast.
That was cool.
Wait, is that this episode?
Yes.
Oh my god. I hope it becomes if we aren't gonna get lore, it just is a weekly thing or something, because that was so good. I watched that
That
so
would be
many
fun,
times.
honestly.
Dream. It was a good idea. Dream. You want to do it again? Dream.
I think
Dream.
it was
Dream, come on,
really interesting in the terms of light lore, because we've talked before
also, it's
about
really
it.
interesting in the term of prison arc.
Uh,
The prison arc has always been a locked down arc. You don't see it except for the major story beat. So just to get an episode that's just chilling in the prison, that's a huge departure from what we're normally used to, and also it's a sign of it's changing now, that things are gonna be changing in the prison.
It's this perspective that's been hidden for a while, and it's cool to finally get it.
We're finally getting some light in the black box.
It seems like something that, even though nothing much happened, I definitely think it offered us some insight on the characters. We had Dream and Dream XD meet.
Mm-hmm.
We saw how revival happens.
Mm-hmm.
And we got like more insight into what Dream and Techno's dynamic is like now? Like, how's it shifted?
I'm just
One
so happy.
interesting thing about Dream is that his memory is, because he didn't remember the last time he talked to Techno, and he also didn't remember the horse's name, which like, what's up with that, fam?
Yeah, and he talked about how his memory's been like it's getting hard to remember things, and that he's been writing things down in his diary, and you see him write things down in his diary with Tommy's second visit. You see him do that. This is just another one of those details that's been consistent with his character. Like, his character likes the clock. You see him mention it with BBH the first time, and then you see him continue that characterization with Sapnap's visit, where he's watching the clock as it reaches the perfect half.
Yes.
You see him holding the clock, you see him fumbling it, you see him like switching it between his offhand and his main hand. And like now there's the diary. Now that the clock's gone, he's been focusing on his diary, on writing things down. And you see him write stuff during Tommy's visit, and now you can finally get the explanation for why during Techno's visit, quote unquote.
And also I think one of the interesting things is we see, like, Dream has this tendency to sort of make himself seem more villainous than he really is, and you see it in stuff like in Doomsday. He gives them an extra day, and he says it's because it's an evil villain thing. And in general, he relies a lot on
Good job,
intimidation.
Dream. You're so evil. You gave
And you kind of see that with the whole thing where he claims that he's profiting off Church Prime, and then Techno points out that actually other people are profiting off him.
And his little, oh yeah, you're right. He even put on his villain voice when he did that too. He was like, I'm profiting off of those who
do.
Like that villain voice he did with during his 3-hour Rambo stream, talking with Rambo, and he was when he's like threatening Tubbo.
I'll rip it off of your dead body. So evil. And Techno's like,
people point this out, but like one of the reasons that their dynamic is so fun and also interesting is that Techno just does not take anything, like any of Dream's act, like to Techno, Dream is just some guy. Like, he doesn't see him as like a villain or a tyrant or anything like that. Like, he's just some guy.
Some dude.
Yeah.
He sees Dream as a person.
Like when Dream's burning the potatoes, Techno's like, he's basically points out this is hurting both of us. And Dream's just like, well,
Dream, don't die yet. I need to make money still. Dream.
Also interesting that Yay swimming in the lava's back.
Do you think it's because
that's my favorite part?
Because he hasn't been visited by Quackity, he started to pick up on his old bad habits again?
I mean, in a way, Quackity was kind of like the clock, as in it helped him keep track of time in some
it was
kind of way.
And also just like interaction.
And now it's like, oh, yeah. Even if it's not.
And honestly, like the whole lava thing, like, is just when you really think about it, like, he started doing that like on the second day he was in the prison. So there's a good chance he was doing something like that even beforehand. Like before he got into the prison. And he started that quickly.
Apple out there saying they've infiltrated us, and we're just all sitting here crying.
Yeah, I would honestly like, I mentioned before how Apple was sharing like some quotes, and actually I took screenshots, so like, okay, so here's one from when they were talking in like the cameravan. And I think it's from the War stream, where Will goes, "We don't go in guns blazing, that's not the Lamamberg way. Do you know what the Lamamberg way is? Gents, I'll give you 2 guesses." And then Eric says, "What is that?" And then Wilbur says, "We talk at them, we lull them into a false sense of security, right? And that's when we stab them in the back, Tubbo. We stab them right in the back." And then Tubbo says, using our words. And then Wilbur says, "Using our words."
He's like, yeah.
And it's just like...
Yeah. Yeah, they were never really good guys. Okay, but so something
Yeah,
interesting.
they were fun, but they were not the good guys.
They were not the good guys. Something interesting that I've noticed, based on recent Tumblr posts that came across my dash, and on Eret's characters. So, a really long time ago, I remember seeing a post about how Eret was the one who truly embodied the lure them in with a false sense of security and then stab them in the back.
Mm-hmm.
By being the whole traitor thing with the final control room and stuff.
Eret's character, he was not remorseful.
He was not remorseful.
For the longest. And people, like, it spun to being like, oh, Dream and Nick, but it was just a deal they made. And for even after, he continued to what's the word for harass?
Like he built towers to intimidate them. He built
intimidation towers,
like a roof over Lamamberg so that mobs would spawn even in day, stuff like that.
In a kind of way, his prank war with Fundy, like, it was a constant. He didn't just go, oh, I betrayed them, and then stood really sad outside the gates like, oh, I'm sorry. It was like, no, he did that, and then held it over their heads and terrorized them for a while.
And honestly, like, I think this is just something I was just thinking as we were talking. Like, I think Eret might actually best represent like the spirit of the original Lamamberg, like out of the surviving, well, not surviving in a worse sense, but like out of the remaining original members.
That was kind of the point I was trying to get to. That Eret ends up Eret who embodied their motto of luring them in and letting them guard down, and who stabbed them in the back, who is the traitor, is the one who best embodied Lamamberg, who still carries around that old Lamamberg revolution energy, because she still speaks in a very formal way, that whole gentleman thing. And I think that used to be something, according to the post, that used to be something all of the old G Lamamberg people did, but that they dropped. But Eret still does it, and she also has that whole museum that commemorates, that's sort of like a relic of the past. They're still holding on to the past, even though so much time has come and gone, and everybody else has moved on.
I'm really interested to see how Wilbur and Eret might interact, like, when they meet again, because of them, like, Eret has definitely sort of like romanticized or has like this nostalgia for what they remember Lamamberg being, and how that is going to contrast to Wilbur's new approach of just like outright telling people, oh yeah, I made Lamamberg to divide people and it was great at that, I never cared about it, it was just a tool. Like, how is that gonna, that's like, obviously there's gonna be some kind of conflict there where they both see it in very different ways.
For someone who doesn't remember their past, they sure like holding on to it.
Well, maybe that's why.
Oh yeah, and the whole thing with Eret and Foolish, and like Eret being some kind of immortal, is also really cool.
Herobrine!
Obligatory punk mention in Foolish's stream today. Him, Bad Boy Halo, and Foolish made Sus, which, if I remember correctly, stands for Super Umbrella Scheme. It's a toll gate where they have the toll at the Nether portal, the community house. They want to put it at the spider farm, where if you don't pay it, it'll release the spiders. And on the way to the prison.
On the roof of the prison!
Classic money-making scheme. Release spiders on anyone who doesn't pay you.
At the end of it, he tells BBH, I'm still suing you. Exactly. Don't pay, die.
Oh god. Like, I heard about this stream, I didn't see it, but it's Foolish and Punk. Batman and Robin.
Yes. It was on 3 streams. Punk's stream, Foolish's stream, and then they did another bit later on Sam's stream. And then I guess technically again on Foolish's stream today. But Punk saw that Foolish had a Batman skin, so Punk got a Robin skin, and they're Batman and Robin.
And this is all 100% canon. This is going to come up in like a very important lore stream, like 2 months from now, and it's going to be all dramatic.
Oh,
and
no.
Sal's going to be going, I don't trust you.
We have Batman.
I don't trust you, Foolish.
Oh, no.
I remember Batman.
Put your trust back.
Bruh, Sam is gonna bring it up and cite this as one of the reasons why he turned to evil, because you wouldn't let me be Robin.
Jason Todd be like.
I mentioned this yesterday, something I did want to talk about a bit, but Punk's character is really interesting in his connection to the egg, and like how he gradually fell under its influence and became like its voice, and how he is not like Ant or Skeppy who lost their life and are now free from the egg's influence. So it's very likely then whatever like the next egg stream is, he's probably going to play a big role in that. It's someone who's still under the egg's influence. I mean, I think there's a difference between the people who are like actively freed from its influence through a canon death and the people who were under its influence but have been separated from it for a long time. Because I think the people who were just separated are a lot more likely to fall back under its influence when they get near it again. While the people who are like completely freed are gonna have less of a struggle.
Don't know now. Is that originally Puffy was under the influence of the egg,
and she got free, and then she got mad that the others didn't get free because she got free.
She was like, I did it, just pull yourself by your bootstraps.
What was your introduction to the egg lore?
When I Finding Joy's recaps.
Really? My introduction was the first stream
same.
Well, I slept through
That's
that,
a long time ago.
Recently I found out that I'm like an old Ronbu fan. Because recently I found out that I subscribed to him at like the very end of November. So I'm like, I subscribed to his YouTube channel within like the first 4 months of it existing.
Me too.
So that's cool.
I didn't know how to subscribe on Twitch at the time, but I would have subscribed back then.
Yeah. I was introduced to I think the first stream I saw of the egg lore was when they were doing that deal with Purple to kill Puffy.
Yeah, honestly, I just slept through most of it because European time zone, and I generally try to not watch anything past midnight because I have to have like some semblance of a sleep schedule.
Oh, fun fact, Dream is about to be in prison longer than all of the
I
members.
saw that.
So you know when the torture arc started, I thought like I was gonna last like 2 weeks at most, and then he's gonna escape, and now it's been going on for like 3 months.
Yeah.
I was putting on her clown makeup. He's gonna be out like a month.
To be fair, when he went to prison, I did say he'll be in there at least as long as it took to build it. Because I was like, there's no way they're gonna put him
And
in
he's
there.
been in for like twice
true.
that.
Because the prison took a lot to build.
Yeah, and then I was like, oh, and then once Wilbur was like, man, I really like the prison arc. This is so interesting. I was like, fuck, he's gonna be in there.
They love to make a
God.
But yeah, he's been in the torture box for so long. Literally the time of 3 presidents.
And you know what the worst thing is? The worst thing is, okay, so like Techno's gonna get out. And obviously, like, once Techno is gonna get out, like, he asked for the plans, he's gonna be going back, but we all know how often he streams. It's gonna be like another month in between Techno getting out and him breaking Dream out if he streams it. Unless it's like right in the same stream. If it's like Techno gets out and...
I think it's gonna be next week, because Aunt Frost is going home today.
Right.
So that means he'd be able to be on the stream. And BBH, it looks like he's fixing his sleep schedule because he was awake at a normal time today. And then Sam is home.
Right. And
and then it's be Filza, Rambu. Rambu's kind of weird because of the meetup.
Yeah.
We don't know when the meetup is.
Nikki.
It's kind of funny, like, I mean, we will judge
happens.
them for their sleeping schedules, and it's like, I'm looking at Romby saying that he woke up super early, and I'm like, dude, this is like 11 a.m. to you. And then I remember that sometimes I don't get out of bed till like 2 p.m.
Same.
And I'm like, yeah, that's
Techno
early.
waking up at 10 and Dream waking up at 5.
My sleep schedule is I go to sleep at 2 to 4, wake up at 8 to 9. It's amazing. I never miss a stream.
I think Tubbo is probably the weirdest, but that's more because you expect someone his age to have a sleep schedule that aligned more with like school, but because he doesn't go, it's kind of all over the place.
I remember like a whole week of just watching Tubbo constantly stream.
Yeah, I think it was when he like started his alt, he just streamed for like all day. Like you could go to sleep and wake up and you'd be like, oh, Tubbo's still alive.
There was an entire meme about Tubbo is streaming, stuff is happening, Tubbo's still streaming.
The world ended, Tubbo is still live. What do y'all think the thing for the egg lore is gonna be? Because BBH was like, it's gonna make y'all cry. I'm like, oh,
Eggs
right.
gotta
You mean you're just saying your bit with Skeppy didn't already make us cry?
If
The funny thing about that is he ended the bit and then he was like, okay, I'm gonna keep streaming because I didn't want to leave y'all on a sad note 3 times in a row for lore, because the next time's gonna be pretty sad. I was like,
Our streamers are evil.
if we don't find out what's in the egg, I'm going to riot.
our streamers are ink spiders, our streamers are ink spiders.
I mean,
Oh my gosh. Oh, also, Aunt Frost canonized that the
Yeah,
egg promised him
that.
velvet.
know.
And that's why he put an egg for a cake for the
so I
egg.
think that means that there's a significantly higher chance that the theory that he's gonna be like come out of the egg is true. But like it's a 50-50 thing. Like if it is that, then I didn't think it would be. It's like something that's been planned from the start, because he talked about like how he'd want him to be on the server, but he's not sure if he can like get permission for that.
I mean, Dream has invited people for less, so...
Yeah.
Dream invited Rambo because of a bit Rambo did.
So I think it's sort of like
Dream was like, yo, this bit kind of
split
funny.
between like they might decide to do it because they think it'll be like a cool idea, but if they already have something planned that's been set in stone since very early on, they might not be willing to change if it gets added to even if it gets added to the server.
Right. You know what would be really funny if... Okay, so imagine Egg Velvet theory true. Suddenly after the egg stream happens, big finale, Velvet comes out, and then the very next day they're just casually hanging out on the server. We're walking by times like, hey, hello, how are you doing? Everything's
They're just
good.
chilling.
And completely forget about the fact that this person hatched out of the big evil red egg that you guys were all fighting against not 2 days prior.
He just like walks up to Sam and is like, hey, remember when I made you eat your own flesh? And Sam's like, yeah. And then they just walk on.
That was fun. I still have the scars.
Good times, good times.
Yeah, but like
What?
egg is cool.
Egg
Yes.
is cool.
Egg is cool.
What has been your favorite arc?
Egg is very...
I don't really have a favorite. Like there's definitely some that I like more than others. But I don't really have like any definitive favorites, and there's a lot of them like I like parts of them, but I don't like other parts.
Sunny?
What's the opposite of the Lamembra?
Doomsday
That's
arc.
my favorite arc. Doomsday arc. No, I think my favorite was the egg arc just because of the...
I like the post-Doomsday Fallout, where like Tubbo built Snowchester, and there was the first attempt to revive Wilbur. That was cool.
Wasn't that the beginning of the news?
And it's also
too?
like what no one else would say is their favorite arc, because I don't think for most people it doesn't really even count as an arc.
Yeah, it's just
But that's
kind
sort of like
things
bit in
happened,
between
a
the
time
disc
period.
confrontation and Doomsday, where everything was just kind of quiet, and like the consequences for Doomsday were sort of shaking themselves out.
The day before Doomsday was fun because like everyone was doing character like stuff, like how their character was feeling. Like even H-Bomb did a stream on it. Everyone was fucking talking about it.
Well, that was cool. I actually watched H-Bomb's stream live completely coincidentally because I was so stressed about the later streams. And I was like, oh, at least I know he'll have a chill stream, but no. I was wrong.
At least he'll be vibing.
I was wrong.
Meanwhile, Jack Manifold was over there losing a life.
I didn't even know about that until like 2 days after Doomsday.
Actually, you know what? Now we're bringing up Jack Manifold. Like, something I've been thinking about recently is how there's a lot of the fandom that seems to reduce characters down to like one prominent trait. So it's like, Dream is evil and hates Tommy. Ranbu really likes his friends and doesn't like sides. Technoblade doesn't like governments. What's another one? Tommy is traumatized.
Technoblade thinks
Tommy is traumatized.
And then people would just like reduce the character down to like mainly being that trait, along with like a few, like I guess, accessory traits. So
yeah.
Tommy is traumatized and also
basically. He's traumatized, and that is his main character trait, and then he has a side character trait of curses and steals things. And yeah, it's just kind of annoying, and I think it's almost like this weird thing with Jack's character. And I think it sort of ties into the whole idea of that, of like, and it also happens, you know what it also happens with? That also happens with Dream and Ranbu. Like, people have this idea, like, if Dream is evil, and if Ranbu cares about his family, then obviously, like, there's no way they can be working together. So they have to justify it with, oh, Dream is obviously, like, mind controlling him, even when the evidence we have leans more towards them working together towards a common goal, because they both have the same goal of stopping conflict.
Yeah. It's so frustrating because I apologize to you bench trio apologists, but you guys have some of the worst characterizations and takes.
No, I agree. A lot of the bench trio apologists.
There's the same thing with
that's not true,
Jack
except
Manifold.
for the ones that said that Ranbu would snap.
With where like his character is almost like, and like he does lean into a bit, but his character is seen as more like a comic relief character rather than a sympathetic villain, because it means
which is interesting.
Like people can justify liking him and also liking Tommy's character, basically.
Like one thing that's interesting to me is Jack, when he talks about his character, he says he wants to be like a villain character that's sympathetic, but people often don't treat him like a villain character at all. They're like, he's goofy guy, Team Rocket wants to kill Tommy, haha. Things go bad for him.
And it's just like,
that's Jack Manifold.
People just forget that like Tommy literally killed him.
Yeah, it's like it's so frustrating when we talk about stuff like that because everybody, they just relate everything back to Tommy. Everything happens because of Tommy, for Tommy. Whatever, Tommy this, Tommy that. Tommy is the center of their world, and so he must be the center of everyone else's world.
Yeah.
And it's very, very frustrating. Because, no, he's not. The prison arc isn't about Tommy, it's about Dream. Jack killing Tommy, well, kind of about Tommy, but also it was more about Tommy being an asshole to Jack and manslaughtering him.
And it's also about Jack's relationship with L'Manberg and how he was one of the original members but felt left behind.
Yeah.
And obviously, like, after, like, Manberg happened, and obviously, like, part of that is, like, meta, is that he kind of took a break from streaming. But he has obviously, like, made it part of his character.
Yeah. Like, Rambu's relationship with Techno, Rambu's relationship with Filza, nothing to do with Tommy.
Yeah, I remember when Tommy did the one stream with him and Tubbo and the egg, and people were going crazy, worried that everybody was going to make the egg arc all about Tommy now.
Yeah.
Yeah, the one good thing about that is that Tommy didn't really do that much in the egg arc.
I think it served as more a way to like make Tommy only viewers like know that the egg was a thing.
Yeah.
Because he hadn't really interacted with it at all before that.
Yeah. Which is cool on real life Tommy for doing that. You know, being aware.
Yeah. But there was like a period where he had people talking about like, oh, Tommy's immune, so like he's gonna be the one to stop the egg, and then it turns out a bunch of other people are immune as well, and it's just yeah.
I think immunity is just having what you want, like not feeling like you want more.
Right.
Because like for everyone who the egg takes you, it gets you by offering you what you want, and either you have the mental fortitude to be like, actually, no, I don't want what you're offering me, or being like, I'm fine.
And that's why, even though they left Punk by the egg for like ages, but it wasn't until he sort of got into conflict, until he thought Sam was like cheating on him, that he fully fell under its influence.
Yeah.
Andrea Lopez is coming to the Dream SMP because of that.
I have a prediction actually about what the final egg stream might be. So what do we know about the egg? We know that it's an egg, that it speaks to people in their mind, usually backwards.
Red.
That is probably voiced by BBH.
We know it's been around before.
Yep, it's super old, and we know that it wants the energy it gets from people dying near it.
Also, it might be possessing Foolish. That's a thing.
Maybe.
Yeah.
That would actually be a really cool twist. Whatever like spirit is inhabiting the egg is sort of almost abandoned the egg itself after it was locked away, presumably by Sam. And it's basically just like freeloading in the back of Foolish's head. What were you saying?
Foolish has fought the egg before, but he doesn't remember.
I'm not sure if it's just
in the stream where he's like dealing with the egg is like, do you remember me? And he's like, no, I've never fought you before. And he's like, no, you have. Just remember.
Oh god, that's scary.
I wonder actually, it would be interesting if the egg was the one connected to all the weird memory stuff, or at least some of it.
Like Arid and Puffy.
Because we know that it has some sort of like psychic abilities.
Puffy's stealing all the memories.
At the very least, it would be interesting if it was the reason behind Arid's memories being missing, because that's like a connected plotline, you know?
Yeah.
Right.
Like Arid and Foolish and the egg are connected, so it makes sense if like Arid and Foolish went after the egg, because we know it existed a long time ago from the Masquerade episode of Tales from SMP, and whatever happened there made Foolish lose his memory of like fighting the egg, and made Arid lose their memory of a lot of stuff.
Everything.
Yeah, everything basically. And that's how Arid lost their memory, and that seems like an interesting way of tying stuff together to me.
Right.
We know Foolish was at least around during the Masquerade time too, because chronologically it takes place after the village that went mad, and because of the stuff that like Punk showed us and everything, we know that Foolish was around for that. So, and
Punk is actually like another connection, like because Punk is involved with the egg lore, but also in Foolish. So, and I like theorizing about like thinking about like the behind the scenes and how stuff might line up like that. And that thinking in that way, I think, can give you a bit of an insight into what might happen by showing what's possible. Because like we know that Punk and Foolish have been working together on like background lore for their characters, both in Punk's like ancestors and Foolish's backstory. And we also know that Erish and Foolish have worked together, like talked about backstory stuff as well. That's for both of the characters. And we also know that Foolish has talked with whoever's the main writer for the Eggpire plot, because of the egg talking to him about his backstory. So there's some level of knowledge of each other's stories going on there that could lead to that connection being a thing in the story itself.
There's a lot of loose threads that are slowly being stitched together. But I kind of want to make a prediction that next egg stream, someone is going to sacrifice themselves for the egg. I want to say that. I want to say, that's what I want to predict. That next egg streams, someone's going to sacrifice themselves for the egg. That's the last death the egg needs. Because so far, it's got Callahan, I think, because Callahan's died near it. Aunt Frost died near it. Foolish has died near it, and it's also got all those deaths it racked up during the Red Banquet time.
Skeppy died near it as well.
Oh yeah, Skeppy too.
Yeah.
I can't believe I forgot about Skeppy. I watched that stream live.
Who the fuck is Skeppy? What the hell? Are you talking about that amalgamation dude?
For the egg bar stuff, for me, like, it's almost like I wake up in the morning to find that something new has happened. I'm just like, what's going on? So I scroll down Tumblr and I see people talking about it. Yeah, and then I go like, okay, I figure out like whose stream was this in. Was it like, and then I could go to the stream and I try and figure out where the lore is. Like usually, like I get like from like clips and stuff, you get who's streaming and you get location, and from there you can go to the VOD itself and see, okay, what happened here.
But yeah, it's like, I feel like the egg's gotten more powerful, for sure. Especially with Foolish's whole thing, where he was so far away from the egg, but the egg was talking to him directly. And even when he like died,
that's why I think it
unquote,
might be in his head.
Yeah, like he was still speaking,
staying there.
I wonder if maybe the egg getting more powerful is tying to part of the reason why it's easier for them to break away from its control, aside obviously from the people who died, like Aunt Frost and Skeppy. Because maybe the egg doesn't need them anymore.
Ooh. You're right.
Because it obviously doesn't actually care about them, you know?
No, it does not care about them. They are a means to an end.
So yeah, as soon as it finds something bigger and better, which especially if we're going with the idea of it's latched on to Foolish, you know, doesn't need them anymore, just ditches them, throws them to the curb.
I think, okay, this might be a bit controversial, but I think Prison Arc so far has been my favorite arc. And this is probably to do with the fact that it's the only arc that I've been mostly like there to watch live for. But it's also probably to do with the fact that it's about Dream. And he's my favorite character, and we see him in a position of basically vulnerability, and he's sort of forced out of his self-appointed role of villain and monster, and basically he's in a place where he's basically been forced to take off that mask, even though he keeps trying to put it back on.
I also think like Tobo's arc right now is really interesting. Because like I really like his character, okay?
Character Tobo's cool.
Tobo's great.
But yeah, like I've kind of like been following him since Neil Lamberg became a thing, like since the start of season 2. And just yeah.
No, he's like,
and just sort of
he's
like
a character that's been walked on.
Development from basically all of Neil Lamberg being Quackity, manipulating him, to him going against Quackity with the outpost and like standing his ground. But also the fact that he's a character who is incredibly willing to sacrifice himself for other people. And I know he's a really interesting character, and I'm really interested in where he's going with that. Because like I know like writer Tobo thinks his lore isn't good, but no, it's great. It's great. Like dude, just keep doing what you're doing. That's great.
Yeah. He's a character that's been like essentially stepped on and walked over for the majority of his time as a leader, and now he's given an opportunity almost to sort of rectify that opinion from that view of him, he can't back down against this in this conflict, because if he does, he's just confirming to himself and to other people that they can have their way with him, and he can't have that because he's got a family now. He's got people he needs to protect, a country he needs to look out for. He cannot afford, just like how Quackity can't afford Las Nevadas to be destroyed, Tubbo cannot afford to compromise.
And honestly, like, I think a while ago I wanted to make like an analysis post about the similarities between Dream's character and Tubbo's character, and I never got around to it, but there are a lot of similarities in how they're willing to sacrifice things. I think I did make a post, but it wasn't like a full analysis post, it was more of like a meme post about how they're willing to go to like extremes for their goals.
Yeah.
Like Tubbo making the nukes.
Yeah.
About like how they're willing to sacrifice, I guess, the well-being of others in service of what they see as a greater good.
Yeah.
With like with Tubbo exiling Tommy. Or
for sure.
Dream's whole thing, just like in general. And yeah, there's quite a lot of similarities, but I think like the main difference is that Tubbo, like one of the biggest differences is that Tubbo has people who stay by him and keep supporting him. And like if he started going too far, they would like hold him back.
Yeah.
And try and help him, and Dream never really had that.
All of Dream's friends left him.
You know, that still makes me so annoyed.
I could point out another similarity even as far back as the Manberg arc. This was pointed out to me a little while ago. Tubbo did not want to be a spy for Pugtopia initially because it went against his morals, but in order to achieve, like what you said, what he saw as the greater good, he was willing to compromise those morals, you know, kind of similar, you know, to Dream.
Yeah. The ends justify the means.
Exactly.
Yeah, and desperate times call for desperate measures.
These characters just so make us sad.
Yeah, that's the reason I don't think there's any Dream SMP character that I could ever really hate. Like, there's some that kind of annoy me. Like, I think, like, Captain Puffy's character is a bit inconsistent, and I kind of dislike it for that, but, like, I don't hate her.
Yeah.
She just mildly annoys me.
I'm sorry, Puffy's the one character that I think I might actually hate. Like, I find Tommy incredibly annoying, but I can't hate him. I can kind of hate him, but I can't hate him. But Puffy. Oh, Puffy.
And I think we had, like, in one of the episodes, we, like, did, like, an entire section on it and just, like, discussing her character. And I brought up, like, I think that writer Puffy would probably find it easier and probably have more fun writing a character that was, like, a more chaotic type.
Yeah.
Rather than trying to, like, fit a more caring character into, like, how she acts naturally.
She's a nice character, but she's very chaotic, and she is, like, very trolly. She's nice, but she doesn't play nice.
Yeah.
Anyway, I think we're kind of running out of time. But before I start recording, I think we should probably try doing some audience engagement. So I guess if you have any strong opinions on Puffy's character, leave a comment below or ask us on Twitter. We'll leave a comment below if you're listening to this on YouTube.
Tell us your hottest takes about character Puffy.
Or if there's any characters...
stealing all of the amnesia is hers. She is stealing everyone's memories.
Or if there are any characters that you hate and why, or are there any characters that you think you should hate but you can't find it in yourself to hate them? And I think that's about it for us.
See you next time.
Well, thanks for listening to the 8th episode of Mellohi, and we hope you enjoyed it. You can also find us on Twitter at Mellohi Podcast, where you can ask us questions, suggest future topics, or just get updates about new episodes. See you next time!